So when I was 19 years old, I had this one thought that changed my life forever, basically, about what if I'm a really, really evil person and a monster? And that thought and this questioning of my own morality played over and over and over in my head 24/7. I remember going to bed that night thinking, oh, maybe it'll just be gone in the morning. And it wasn't. And then the next 4 months of my life were just consumed by this intense cycle of just obsession over this thought and compulsions and trying to prove that I wasn't an evil person over again. I didn't know what to do. I went to my parents. I'm from a very Christian family. So initially I went to a Christian therapist where I was told that my thoughts were all real and that I needed to pray to get rid of them. This person had no idea what OCD was, and I didn't at this time either. But then I got home from that, became very, very ill, began to self-harm and became suicidal. And that's when I Googled how to get sectioned, where OCD Actions page came up, and I found the forum, which described exactly what I was going through. And I found thousands of people's comments going through the exact same thing as I was doing. And it was definitely helpful in my initial realizing I had OCD.
So my main themes of OCD are, and were in the past, moral scrupulosity, which is this obsession about being like morally perfect for me, which I'll never be able to obtain because no one's morally perfect. So I'd mentally review everything I'd done to check if I'd been, good or bad. I'd gift give a lot to people, like buy loads of people presents that I didn't even know, over apologise a lot for things I didn't need to say sorry for. I also had false memory OCD, which my OCD would convince me that I'd done these bad things which I hadn't done. And then again, I'd be mentally reviewing them and everything would get so confusing. And that linked in a lot with my real event OCD, which is kind of an obsession about things I have done, but OCD distorts these events and what I've done and makes them seem really bad and scary when they're just normal things, but it puts this like dark lens twist kind of thing on it.
Being a Christian, I love God, so I often get like sort of blasphemous thoughts which my OCD targets at God, and it makes me feel horrendous because why would I want to swear or call God any horrible names? And now the C word is a huge trigger for me, has been since I was very young, because I feel it's the worst swear word. So OCD grabs onto that. And then, unfortunately, as I just said, like almost aims it at God, which just, especially when I was younger, destroyed me. Like I felt horrendous, like this awful person. Like, why would I say that? And obviously I don't mean it because it's completely against what I believe, but that's what OCD is. It's very vicious. It's like a parasite, and it'll get in any little gap and think, ooh, let me target that, and that's going to make Duke feel disgusting, So my compulsion for when I would have that intrusive thought would be repetitive prayer. And I would say I have different repetitive prayers for different intrusive thoughts. So I would say that repetitive prayer to a certain number. Numbers are a huge part of my OCD. A lot of intrusive thoughts are attached to a lot of numbers. There's only a few numbers which I feel I can land on, and often that's 20 or 30. So as you can imagine, you're saying the same prayer repetitively 20, 30 times in your head. Now, I can do that relatively fast now, but if I'm in an environment where I have to be social, trying to hold a conversation while trying to do that is very difficult. Then if I'm interrupted, sometimes I'm like, right, I've got to start again. And so on and so forth.
One theme that I struggle with is false memory OCD. You could be in a situation, whether it's you walking down the road or shopping in Tesco, and afterwards you'll ruminate over the whole scenario. So for example, for me, and I'll use like the date example, I'll be on a date talking about what you talk about on dates, things that are actually quite boring, like what's your favourite colour, things like that, and you're just like, but then afterwards I will completely tear apart the conversation, and OCD kind of convinces me that I've done something immoral, bad, and memory is malleable. The more you think about of something, it's like you're actually just creating a new story almost. OCD just wants to make you feel like you're the worst person, and it will try to convince you of its lies.
So another intrusive thought cycle that I went through was this fear of HIV. So as a gay man, it's already a stigma that's attached to me as a gay man. I feel forced upon me from an early age that HIV is something I'm inclined to get, which is not true. And as a result of this, every time I'd have sex, I would have this fear that I'd either caught HIV or that I'd passed it on, which led to me compulsively doing tests weekly. I would always be in the clinic, constantly just making sure that I didn't have HIV, even though my chances of it were basically none. But that kept me in this loop and developed this horrible and toxic relationship with sex for myself.